Come check out my cool new Menlo, made by Edison Pen Co. Comes right out of the US of A. What else to say? Get your Menlo today.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you for clicking on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. Thank you for joining me once again. Before I get started, be advised, I have a new playlist in my channel, and this is called Test Fire. What occurs in Test Fire is I offer you guys a video of a writing sample / demonstration. What I will also do is take that pen in question, what I dub star of the show, and stack it up against several other pens so you can compare line variation, line width, and whatnot. The subject of today's video is going to be these awesome two pens right here. This is a transparent fire Menlo by the Edison Pen Company with a draw filler. This is an Aquarium Flake Menlo by the Edison Pen Company, also with a draw filler. The transparent fire has a 18 karat extra fine gold two-tone nib. The Aquarium Flake has a stainless steel fine nib. Before I get into the neutral zone, the good, the bad, and the ugly about the pens that I have here, what I want to do is I want to give you some background information. Background information starting with the man who is Edison Pen Company, Sir Brian Gray, spelled with an A. Brian Gray, he was a pharmaceutical representative at one point in his life, and he went around representing these companies trying to sell drugs. He kept getting laid off. It seems that people preferred to purchase their drugs off street corners from dudes who safeguard and secure their product in car tire wells, phone booths that are so dilapidated and disgusting that you may possibly get some kind of skin infection from using it, or securely and snugly up their butts. True story. This led to Brian Gray wondering, what is he going to do for income? He mulled over it, sat in his garage, turned pens, took pictures of the pens, put them up online, and people would see them, and people would look at them and be like, wow, I like that. I give you money, you give me pen. He agreed. This happens over and over and over to the point where making pens and being a custom pen maker became a viable option for Brian Gray. In doing so, has been able to provide for his family, have a dog, buy a house, and be successful. This is the fruition of the concept of American dreams happening today. That's the background information. What I want to do now is I want to move on to the neutral zone. Aspects about this pen that are neither good or bad, or could be good or bad, depending on you. Let me start off with the shape of the pen. Now, the shape of this pen is a cigar torpedo type shape. It has a slight taper in the body. It holds and houses a standard number 6 Yovo nib in your standard Edison feeds and housing. Now, be advised, although it may look the same, the housing and the feed are not the same. They have been modified in a way to make the draw filling mechanism of this pen function. If you were to unscrew this nib unit and put it into a Collier and put the Collier standard nib unit into your Menlo, the draw filling function would no longer work on this pen. While you can switch nib units between two different Menlos with draw fillers, you cannot switch nib units between an Edison pen that does not have a draw filler or any other pen that has the same housing, feed, and nib. The cap unscrews and screws in one full rotation, no more, no less, and that is consistent with the pens that I have here. The cap has a slim center band, plain, unadorned, approximately 1.5 millimeters in width. The clip has a straight sword-like shape. Although it has the mechanism for filling it built into the pen, the weight of the pen is surprisingly light. It's not too big, it's not too small. Just to give you an idea of the size, I'm going to hold it up against an Edison Collier. Let me also hold it up against a TWSBI Eco, just a tad longer, but the TWSBI Eco does have flat ends. Let me also hold it up against a can of seltzer water. That's just for comparison. Although it does have a vintage shape and vintage concept behind a removable blind cap with a filling mechanism that's exposed once you remove the blind cap, based on the acrylics that Edison Pen Company offers and based on your taste, it can also look very modern despite the vintage qualities that it has. Now, those are your neutral aspects. Moving on to the good, the bad, and the ugly, starting with the good. Now, a pen is only as good as it writes, correct? Therefore, I like to start with the nibs. The nibs on these pens are consistently fantastic, as they are with pretty much all Edison pen nibs. 90% of the nibs that come out of Edison pens, as per Brian Gray, are hand-tuned and adjusted by Brian Gray himself. Those include specialty nibs, custom grinds, etc. Every once in a while, when he is not able to do it, a thoroughly trained and now expert at tuning and adjusting nibs are done by a gentleman under Brian Gray's employ by the name of Jake. I have received one of these Jake tuned and adjusted nibs on one of my other previous purchases with Edison Pen Company, and I have to say that it is virtually indiscernible as to who tuned that nib, Brian Gray or Jake. Another great quality about these pens are how customizable they are. From the acrylic, to the furniture on the pen, to the nib, and even to modifications that are not traditional to the filling mechanisms of Edison pens. I'll talk more about that later. Now, on the transparent fire, what I find very appealing is that the seams where the cap assembly and the clip connect is imperceptible. You could touch it, rub across it with your fingernail. There is nothing there to feel. It feels like one piece. Same goes for where the blind cap is. There is nothing there to feel. You can take it off, put it back on. No matter what orientation you put it on, it always seems to line up with the pattern. I find that a very good attention to detail. These two Menlo pens here are your standard draw filling signature line Menlos. What these have is a removable blind cap. The blind cap comes off in traditional vintage style, and it does require two-handed operation. You hold one hand securing the pen into the bottle of ink, and the other hand will pump the mechanism down and back up. When you pump it down, it blows out air. When you pull it up, it draws in ink. When you pump it down again, it still only blows out air, and when you pull it up, it draws in ink. And that's how this works. The warranty for these pens are fantastic. Not only is it lifetime, or rather for as long as Edison Pen Company is around, if you were to sustain a scratch on any Edison pen, that means signature line or production line, you could send it to them and they'll buff it out for you for free of charge. The pens are also designed in a way that, let's say Edison Pen Company decides to change its direction and they start making Metal Gear Solid type robotic mobile nuclear weapons, and they don't do pens anymore. You can actually take this pen to any pen repair person and they will be able to repair your pen, because the parts that are used on the pen are parts that are standard to other pens, vintage, modern, or whatnot. Moving on to the bad, let's talk coin. Your base model, Edison Menlo with a draw filler, or if you prefer a pump filler, will run you $375 for a standard steel nib. It could run you $475, $100 more if you equip it with a gold nib. It'll cost you $500 for an Edison stock flex nib, $625 if you want a full flex binder made nib, and it could cost even more than that depending on additional customizations such as a snake clip or a roll stop and whatnot. It could be hard to justify to some if those some are not at all interested in exotic filling mechanisms or customizing acrylics or modifications that make the pen very personalized to you. So in sum and substance, basically what I'm saying is this pen and these pens in particular, they are definitely more geared to people like me and some of you who are fountain pen addicts. They know what they want, they know exactly how they want it, and they understand the amount of work and cost that goes into it. For those of you who are not like that, who do enjoy a pen but don't care for having a say in how it looks and customizations and modifications. That's why they have the production line pens. That's all I have for the bad. Moving on to the ugly. The ugly, that which should not be but is. Now, although both of these pens are gorgeous and the closest thing to perfect pens that you can get, there are very tiny aspects about it that do qualify as ugly. I'm going to talk about each one. Now, I am an anal retentive nitpicker when it comes to the quality of things. And these might not be issues that are points of contention for you, and you may be 100% correct in saying that they are not ugly aspects. But since I noticed them, I do wish to point them out. Let me start with the Transparent Fire. The Transparent Fire, very gorgeous pen, very well polished, looks like it's made of crystal, clear crystal. After you take off, and even when the blind cap is on, you can see through the blind cap to the mechanism. What I do notice is the interior of the blind cap looks as though it wasn't as finely polished as the rest of the pen. In addition, I do notice up in the top corner, there is areas that look as though the acrylic, which is clear, was either stressed or damaged during the manufacture. I don't know if this is something that is correctable or something that can be ameliorated by Edison pens and their staff, or if it's just a natural thing. You guys let me know what you think. That is all about the Transparent Fire. Moving on to the Aquarium Flake. The only thing that I find ugly about this pen is in the mechanism of the draw filler. Now, if I compare them both to each other, the Transparent Fire and the Aquarium Flake, look here. When I press the mechanism all the way down, notice how that piston reaches all the way to the separation where the boring differentiates the mechanism area and the rest of the body. It reaches all the way right to the end of that bored out section. If you look at the Aquarium Flake, when it goes down, you're about 1.5 millimeters away from the end of the boring section. So it doesn't quite reach it as it does in the Transparent Fire. The Transparent Fire holds just over 2 milliliters of ink, while the Aquarium Flake holds just a touch. I'm talking a hairline below 2 milliliters. I do believe that the reason is because of that space where the piston does not reach the end of the bored out section where the filling mechanism is designed to pass back and forth. And I think because of that space, it does end up drawing in slightly less ink. I may be wrong. Now, those are the only ugly aspects about these pens. It's high noon. Decision-making time. Should you or should you not pull the trigger on the Edison Menlo by Edison Pen Company with the draw filler? Pull the trigger on this pen. In the end, it is absolutely worth the money put into it. These pens are fantastic pens. They are pens that will last a lifetime. The quality, craftsmanship, warranty that backs these pens up are absolutely fantastic. Stay tuned and check out the test fire section of the PenBoyRoy channel for a writing sample / demonstration. Thanks again for joining me. Be well, be safe. See you soon. What's up, guys? Thanks for sticking around. All right, real quick. These pictures are used with permission of Brian Gray, be advised, as well as this is my pearlized emerald Menlo with a snake clip, but what makes it special is this here spring making my draw filler single-handed operated. Now, this is how I came up with it. Please excuse the appearance of my thumbs. I've had a lot of injuries throughout my life doing reckless things, and they've grown weird due to losing both nails on both fingers at one point. Now here I'm removing the spring, and basically what I'm saying here is I made sure that the length of the spring when it's compressed is no greater than 3.5 millimeters, I believe it was, and fully extended. It is strong enough to ensure the full range of motion of the filling mechanism. This results in a draw filler that is normally two-handed operation to be used with only one hand. To me, this combines the best of the pump filler as well as the draw filler without the caveats of the pump filler, being the sac degrading due to certain components of certain inks, as well as the draw filler having to use two hands. It also eliminates the static friction that Brian explains in his video when he introduces the draw filler. Watch here as I fill the pen. As you're watching this, pay very close attention to what I'm saying. As per Brian Gray, this is absolutely not endorsed by Edison Pen Company. It is not a regular offering. It is merely Brian Gray being a cool dude and complying with my request. My request was to have the spring installed during the production so that way I don't have to coil a spring around myself and have it look uneven, unattractive, and whatnot. As I said, this is not a regular offering. It is not something that he does on a regular basis. It is a prototype and an experimentation based on this idea that I created here in my office. If you want one done to yours, know that he could do it, but he's under no obligation. A friend of mine also had a Menlo come in his way. He requested it. Brian Gray was nice enough to oblige. But as I said again, it is merely an experimental prototype, and it is not something that he fully endorses at this time. Take another look at the final product of the pearlized emerald Menlo with the custom snake clip and the removal of the center band. Now this, again, and I have to stress this out of respect to Brian Gray and his wishes, that this is once again merely experimental. It is a prototype and it is not a regular offering. If you want this added to yours, he may or may not do it. He's under no obligation. He is very constricted when it comes to time, and he just may not have the right springs left, or he may not have the resource or time to dedicate to getting springs made specifically for this pen. I am unofficially calling it the PenBoyRoy semi-automatic draw filler.